Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another commentary of What's on My Mind. Today's topic is titled Unification for Action. Before I go into the actual commentary, I would like to quote a saying or a statement from the late Elder Malcolm X. He said, and I quote, "I for one believe that if you give people a thorough understanding of what confronts them and the basic causes that produce it, they'll create their own program. And when the people create a program, you get action." Now, as a people, a melaninite people, often referred to as black people, I believe that we are faced with some issues that we fail to recognize, and therefore we are hindered from taking the necessary action. You may not agree with me, but I defend my right to express myself as much as I accept your right to disagree. Now let us explore some of the issues I believe we are confronted with. One, we are faced with degradation. We perpetuate our own degradation, and we do so via the proclivity for us to look down on each other. In other words, we tend to be too class conscious. We are too involved in status, like this is the center of our very existence. We use the standards that were instilled in us by our taskmasters as a means of judging each other's worth. We fail to accept the value of each other and therefore deem some among us as unworthy, as we would so commonly say, we're not in each other's league. We refer to each other as ghetto rats, hood rats, hoes, bitches, treading on each other's dignity as if it didn't matter at all. We fail to recognize that each of us is important in the grand scheme of life. And all each of us might need is just a little nudge in the right direction. We are faced with disdain. We do not understand that every time we disrespect each other or degrade each other, our brothers and sisters, particularly in public and in the presence of others not of our race, we will be regarded with double that disdain. It is as if we are weaned on a culture called "I'm better than you." And we project that culture by the way we treat each other, walking with our noses in the air peacock style, and for all the wrong reasons. There are way too many peacocks among us. And to any other peoples looking on, we come across as peacocks without a purpose. Our cock of the walk attitude has never taken us very far, and it has only caused other races to despise us just as much as we despise our own. Because guess what? If you hate yourself so much, why should any other love and respect you? Are you with me? So the same measure of disdain that you level at one another, that we level at one another, it is dished out to us doubly. And then we wallow in self-pity, wondering, why us? We somehow have the propensity to remain under the subjugation of our oppressors. Yes, we love subjugation. Yes, sir. No, sir. Please, sir. I need this job, sir. Please, sir, I can't do without this job, sir. Some of us go like this. Let me go overseas and pick apples to make a living. I look at our people with dismay every time we accept their invitation. And I'm talking about invitation from other countries, particularly European countries, to engage in labor that their own people refuse to engage in, and for even less than they would pay their own people. For example, farming. For a mere pittance, we would go overseas. We would travel 1,000,000 miles. The truth is, the only thing we don't receive as a result of that favor, the favor of them inviting us to their countries to farm, to pick apples, to pick oranges, is the physical whip on our backs. But boy, don't we embrace the idea of going overseas to pick apples or cherries or to farm potatoes or whatever it is there is to farm. We love farm labor. This is tantamount to accepting slavery. We simply seem to enjoy that kind of bondage. But what is most troubling, and I find it quite abhorrent, is that we prefer to serve others rather than our own. Can't we farm in our own countries? Oh no. It is better to go to a foreign country and slave for a measly dollar and sleep on pallets and a foam for a bed and endure the harsh conditions that are meted out to us. It is a dishonor to slave in our own countries. It is just about survival, temporary survival. Let me ask you a question. Do we truly want to live? You decide. We speak of black consciousness as if it is simply a mantra to exhibit our pride, yet our consciousness is still to manifest. What are we conscious about really? I ask that question to those who keep chanting black and proud, yet have nothing to show for it. Is this chant supposed to ward off the subjugation that we are experiencing? What are we proud of? Are we proud of being entertainers, ball players, holders of paper degrees? Are we content with being competitors in the arenas of our colonial gladiators, vying for their approval? Are we simply comfortable or comfortably proud to be in the good graces of those who hold us captive? Why? Why would we even kill each other just for the savagery of a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Do we enjoy being tools to be used for the pleasure of those who see us as lesser than they? Even more despicable is the fact that we choose sides among the political brouhaha. We vote. Yes, we vote. When election day arrives, oh, we are only too happy to choose a side. Partisan politics. Whose side are we on? The truth is, whether we vote Republican or vote Democrat or vote Independent or vote UWP or vote PNP, whatever it is that we are voting, we still remain in the same quagmire. We remain and we mix and we humble and we throw ourselves and we smile and we just love it because we fail to understand that we are just merely pawns, sycophants in the game, hoping that someday one of these political concerns will bring us the utopia we miserably seek. No political party formed by our oppressor is ever in the interest of our people. And no political party formed by our own with the assistance or backing of our oppressors is in our best interest either. Catch-22. Their politics do not work for us and has never worked for us. When will we wake up from our zombie-like state and face reality? there is another issue that confronts us, and it is the liberty to be dumb. Perhaps you might scream now and say, what is this insult? What is she saying? However harsh the reality is, we have to face it. Because let's face it, we cry freedom every day, begging the same people who exploit our humanity in the most disparaging fashion to let us go. A modern day cry of let my people go. And they hold on to us tighter. We fail to act in a way that we may attain the freedom we so desperately seek. And I have to ask, how can you ask someone who has such an insatiable need to keep you oppressed to let you go? Do you honestly feel the slave master would willingly let go of his slave? But I still have another question. Whatever happened to expressing your freedom? After all, it is already yours, and nobody else can give it to you. Nobody else can give us our freedom because we already have it. What happened to all men being equally created with inalienable rights? What happened to that? How can they give us that which do not belong to them, that which is not theirs to give? You behave as if your freedom is theirs and you're asking them to give it to you. Our ancestors, our forefathers, they never begged for freedom. They never begged for freedom. They let their oppressors know in no uncertain terms that they would not accept being deprived of what was theirs. They resisted. Or have you forgotten our history? Was there nothing to be learned? Was there nothing to be continued from the experiences of our forefathers or our mothers? When will we quit begging for freedom? When will we quit protesting in the streets and making a mockery of ourselves? When will we quit trying to gain sympathy from our persecutors? When are we going to stand up and realize that we already have the freedom that we are fighting for? We get others involved in our fights, not realizing that they are part of the problem and can never be part of the solution. Never. We have a bad habit of allowing them to fund our causes. Yes, they insert themselves in the same unpleasant situations that they created in the first place, jostling side by side with us, and somehow making us believe that they are with us. Do we not see the latitude with which we are allowed to display our dumbness? The only way to keep hampering our progress as a people is for them to join us. Or haven't we yet heard of the saying, if you wish to destroy them, join them? Are you with me? We are confronted with oppression to the point where we cannot walk the streets in peace. We cannot walk the streets in peace because we are always being suspected of wanting to commit or having committed some unpardonable sin. We are shot down like dogs in the streets and in our homes, and there is no justice. Oops, I heard someone say, oh, but we get amply compensated though. What utter rubbish! Is a few $1 million the justice you deserve? Are you content with that kind of justice? Where's your integrity? Sorry to say that a few $1 million is simply to say, oh there, now stop crying. Shh, shh, shh. You know? As if you would be content with a few $1 million after they took the life of your son or your daughter or your husband. Or your family would be content with that kind of justice. And then, after they give you the few $1 million, and by the way, the few $1 million that they give you is actually your money because you already paid that in taxes. Think about it. They go back and they do the same thing over and over again. They kill somebody else, one among us, and then they dish out the few $1 million that they already collected from us via taxes. We can't speak our tone because we are too aggressive. We can't walk leisurely because we are up to something fishy. We cannot drive any luxury vehicle because if we do so, it might be drug money. We can't protest because we are deemed dangerous to authority. We cannot inquire because we are troublemakers. We can't have a party or congregate because we seem too happy. So the cops have to come and interrupt our fun and throw us in jail for one reason or another. Whichever suit their fancies at the time. We are a people abhorred and pursued. Yet we pretend that all is well. Because we do not want to displease our masters. Let us remain in peace. Let us be quiet. We exist in a system that do not even regard the reality of our being. And some of us, we are bound down and cowed down by religious doctrines. The spell of religion, held hostage by its so-called invisible God. We are so dumbed down that we hold fast to the idea that God will fight all our battles and lead us to freedom. Somehow, something is definitely wrong with us when we dutifully call on an invisible deity whose name we don't even know. We are calling on him or her to extricate us from the mess that we are in. And believe me, we are in real deep. Wake up! Wake up! We are faced with extermination. There was slavery, the civil rights movement, the Tuskegee experiment, AIDS, Ebola, chikungunya, eugenics, Planned Parenthood, black genocide, save the children. Because I am a girl, do the research. Every possible tactic under the sun has been used to permanently extirpate us. Yet, we refuse to accept the truth. Those who try to warn us of the deceit by which we are being manipulated to do the bidding of others who hold us in captivity are either imprisoned or murdered. And more disturbingly, with the help of some of us. Our warners have been many. Many, I don't need to name them here. We all know who they are. And we have sold them out. We have defamed their characters or betrayed them. Or sometimes killed them ourselves for the proverbial 30 pieces of silver. And the love of a people who will never love us in return. The traitors, the sellouts, the cowards among us are plentiful and real. We help carry out our own extermination because we are too keen on attaining the love of those who absolutely detest us and loathe our presence on this planet. And these are the obstacles with which we are confronted. These are the issues that make it so difficult for us to create our own programs and to take action. Added to these obstacles, we tend to be greedy, selfish, individualistic, hypocritical, envious, unappreciative, treacherous, stiff-necked, and uncaring. But most of all, we are followers who prefer to be spoon-fed by our colonial masters. And though you might be mad at that, at what I have to say, according to our late elder Malcolm X, the field slaves are saying, let's run away. But the house slaves are saying, where to? Master has always fed us. If we leave now, how will we get food to eat? Where will we live? Where? So bent on temporary survival we are, that we have forgotten how to live. So disunited are we. We are disunited because we are thinking only of those who feed us. And we subconsciously want to remain near that container where the food is at. At what point will we refuse to open our mouths and partake of the poisonous food with which we are fed? When will we stop gathering crumbs and ravenously sloping up the chitlins and bitter soup from the tables of the colonialists. Our late African brother Thomas Sankara reminded us, and let me quote, "He who does not feed you can demand nothing of you." Why do we insist on expressing absolute loyalty to those who reward us with bittersweet experiences? When we together, and I will say again, together, can create our own loyalty programs and rules. How could we love so much and subscribe so well to that which is not of us, and neglect so exceedingly that which is ours? Why do we accept those who have controlled us, programmed us, muddled our thinking, dirtied our mindset towards each other, pulled us away from our cultures, stole that which was ours, usurped our authority? Why have we not learned, after so many centuries of being beaten down, how to strive for and maintain unity in our families, in our communities, among our nation and our race? Why haven't we yet learned to define ourselves, to think for ourselves, to speak up for ourselves? When are we going to realize that without unity we cannot make it to freedom? Why do we refuse to work as a collective, to live for, of, and by each other? Is the unity that we so freely speak about only exhibited by way of protests and loudmouth aggressive reactions when one of us is killed? Answer the question. It appears that our people are accustomed to individualism, the lack of compassion for one another. They seem devoid of divine love, filled with self-hate. We cannot even agree on our own nationality. We don't know who we are. What is our nationality? Some are Africans, some are African Americans, some are Hispanics, some are Negroes, some are biracial, 3/4 this and 1/4 that. Caribbean, Jamaican, St. Lucian, Trinidadian, Haitian, Vincentian, you name it. Who are we really? What is our identity? Yet they declare that they are proud and resilient. All these people have a different identity. We are fighting, yet we do not know who we're fighting for. What are we proud of? We call ourselves resilient. Resilient in what way? Wouldn't it be better to admit that we are what is left of the resilience of those before us? Wouldn't it be better to say that? We seem to have resigned ourselves to the notion of being beaten and used to the good of the advantage of others for another 500 years, for the simple reason that we just do not know who we are as a people. Where has our dignity escaped to? And do we hope to gain our freedom? That freedom that we are fighting for, that freedom we already have, that freedom we are simply being deprived of because we do not know how to express it. Through the endless pampering of and the integrating with our oppressors in diverse ways, just to keep the peace. And yet in keeping that peace, we sacrifice our longed for freedom. We sacrifice our very souls. One of our ancestors, the late Patrice Lumumba of the Congo, who was betrayed by one of his own, ironically wrote these words, and I quote, "Without dignity there is no liberty. Without justice there is no dignity. And without independence there are no free men." Do you want your independence? Lastly, there are those among us who think freedom means we must fight a physical fight, a fight that we will never win. Should we encourage our sons, brothers, men, folk out there to confront heavily armed mercenaries, murderers, criminals, to fight for our freedom when we do not have that kind of firepower? And what good have we achieved by resorting to armed conflict? Yet some of us are calling on our brothers to take up arms. What is this mentality? Do we have any interest or any intent to change our mentality at all? Why do you opt to die when you can choose to live? I don't think we should allow emotionalism to taint our reasoning. For we can only win this battle with sound right reasoning. Let us use our minds, not our emotions, because with emotions come utter disaster. It is no secret that we do have many intellectuals among us. Where are they? Yes. Yes. We have many educated people. But educated by whom? And is education intelligence? Perhaps our forefathers were not as literate as we are today. But there are many of them who were not book educated, who knew that their freedom was theirs, and who knew the importance of unification. And there may be many ignorant ones among us. But is education synonymous with intelligence? Think about it for a moment. The late Stephen Biko stated, and I quote, "The most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed." And end quote. Are we going to keep permitting our oppressors to use our mind to their advantage? Or are we going to transform our minds into the strongest, mightiest, most invincible weapons for our collective benefit? Gathering in the streets and babbling amidst confusion, getting abused by uniformed devils is not the best way to maintain our freedom. We need to put up a resistance to. To say we disapprove of something is to protest, but to put an end to what we disapprove of is resistance. If we refuse to go along with what offends us, then we must resist it. We must resist it together. Stop thinking that we can change the minds or the attitudes of these devils, our oppressors, who are so disagreeable it is impossible to get along with them in peace, by screaming your displeasure on the streets. They actually love this type of response. They crave it. They are so used to it that it does nothing to them anymore. It is a game for them. They actually indulge in actions that lure us into such reaction. They're laughing at us. So get real. Change the strategy. Unite. J. Edgar Hoover said that the greatest single threat to America is the unity of the Negro. I say today that individualism is the greatest single downfall of the Negro race. That individualism which we are perpetuating among us. That idea of what's in it for me. That idea of it's me or nothing or no one. This is the greatest downfall of the Negro race, because they have not yet learned, we have not yet learned to unite. Unification is the most powerful form of resistance. Without unity, we are doomed. We need to unite. The cause of our lack of unity lies in these aforementioned issues with which we are confronted. I speak not of a revolution when I say that we need to change. I speak of a rebirth, a change of the mindset, a complete 360-degree awakening and change of the mindset. Are you in tune with what I've said? My brothers and sisters, although we may be faced with many challenges now, we will be warriors. We will be warriors once we unite. We will be warriors again. Perhaps the cord that binds us together as a people is very thin, but being mindful of that ever fragile tie, being mindful of the fact that we are custodians of each other, let us create a program via the unification of the minds, and all the bodies will walk together in solidarity, leading us to action. Action that is meaningful to us as a people, united, strong, solid, and unbreakable. Thanks for listening.